Rain. Heavy, cold, angry rain. The sky had turned gray. The trees outside swayed like they were mourning something. Thunder growled like an approaching beast. And deep inside the massive Adewale's mansion, a house so large it had rooms that hadn't been opened in years, a barefoot girl mopped quietly. Her gown was oversized. Her scarf soaked. Her arms trembled, not from cold, but from something else. She had stopped cleaning. She was standing, frozen, staring up at the wall. There, above the marble staircase, beneath the antique chandelier, hung a portrait. A portrait that stole her breath. A portrait that turned her heart to ice. It was a family photo. A man, a woman, and a baby. But it was the baby that did it. Because that baby was her. Same round cheeks. Same mole under the left eye. Same beaded bracelet. Same everything. She dropped her mop. Her knees buckled. Her lips trembled. She reached slowly into her shoe. Pulled out the small nylon bag. Opened it. Inside was the only thing her mother left behind, a faded baby photo, water-stained, torn at the edge. She raised it and compared. Identical. She staggered back. Her breathing got faster. She wasn't crazy. No, this can't be, she whispered, eyes wide. Why is my face in this house? Who am I? Who is he? She turned toward the grand hallway, the place she had been told never to enter. The West Wing. She could feel something pulling her, a memory, a shadow, a truth too deep to swallow. But behind her, a voice interrupted her storm of thoughts. Nora, are you done cleaning the hallway? She snapped back into reality. Quickly, she wiped her tears, picked up the mop, and whispered under her breath, I must find out. I must know the truth. You're watching African Tales by Maid. Please like, share and subscribe. Now grab your seat, because this is only the beginning. Her name was Nora. She didn't know her father. She barely remembered her mother. Just the soft hums she used to sing at night and the smell of lemon soap. She had no relatives. No house. No shoes. No hope. But she had one thing, dignity. Even when life threw her into gutters and fire, she never begged. She worked. She hustled. She cleaned. She served. And now, she was standing in the largest mansion she had ever seen, holding a mop like it was her weapon of survival. The Adewale mansion was legendary. Nora had been sent by Mom Nkechi, the woman from her church who helped girls like her find housework jobs. Nora wasn't getting paid. This was voluntary, 2 weeks of trial cleaning. If she did well, they'd consider hiring her as a full-time cleaner. She didn't mind. She just wanted somewhere to be, somewhere she wouldn't have to sleep in the market again. Somewhere she could think. The butler, Papa Shea, a strict old man in his 60s, had given her firm instructions that morning, clean only the East Wing. Do not, under any circumstance, step into the West Wing. That part of the house is forbidden. Nora had nodded quietly. She wasn't one to question rules. But now, 8 hours later, as she stood staring at that baby photo, everything changed. The West Wing had secrets, and her face was part of it. That night, Nora didn't sleep. The guest quarters behind the mansion were cold, dimly lit, and smelled of dust. She shared the room with 2 other girls, Tina and Amaka, older housemaids who had been working there for years. Tina was loud and always gossiping. Amaka mostly minded her business. Hey new girl, Tina said, brushing her long wig before bed. You day clean fast oh. The butler day look you like say you be angel. You won collect our job. Nora shook her head. I'm just here to help. Tina hissed. You better don't poke your nose into anything in this house. Rich people get walla. Once you cross line, dem go throw you away. Nora laid on the bed quietly. But sleep refused to come. She kept hearing that photo whisper her name. At 2 a.m., after hours of tossing and turning, she quietly stood, tiptoed out, and snuck back toward the mansion. The rain had stopped. The moon cast a soft glow over the garden. Nora slipped in through the servant's back entrance and walked slowly toward the hallway again. There it was. The portrait. She stared at it again. Tears filled her eyes. "That's me," she whispered. Then her eyes slowly turned toward the west wing. No sound. No light. But something inside her pulled. She tiptoed to the door that led to the forbidden corridor. The knob was cold. The air smelled like old wood and lemon polish. She twisted the handle gently, and it clicked open. The hallway was narrow and long. Paintings lined the walls, all with dust-covered frames. She stepped inside. 1, 2, 3 steps. Suddenly, a cold wind blew through. Bang! The door behind her slammed shut. She jumped. And just then, she heard it. A soft humming. A woman's voice. "Sleep, my baby, sleep. The stars will guard your dreams." Nora froze. Tears filled her eyes again. She knew that voice. She had heard it before. Somewhere deep in her soul. She ran back. But as she reached for the door, a loud voice echoed through the hall. "What are you doing here?" She turned around. It was Papa She, holding a flashlight. His eyes were wide with fear, not anger. "Who told you to enter here?" Nora stammered. But Papa She's gaze moved to her neck. His flashlight landed on her pendant, the small pendant hanging from her neck, shaped like a golden feather. He stepped closer, slowly, trembling. "Where did you get that pendant?" The silence that followed was thick enough to slice. Nora looked down at her pendant. "My mother gave it to me," she whispered. "She never told me what it meant. She just said to always keep it close." Papa She's face had lost its color. His hands shook. "That pendant belonged to Mr. Adewale's baby daughter," he said slowly. "She died 17 years ago, in a hospital fire. Or so we thought." Nora's heartbeat doubled. "What did you just say?" Papa She didn't reply. He backed away slowly. Then, without another word, he turned and walked off down the hallway, leaving Nora alone, and trembling. That night, Nora sat outside the servant quarters staring at the sky. Her mind was a hurricane. Who am I? Why is my face in that photo? What if my mother had been hiding something? What if I'm not who I thought I was? She clutched the pendant and swore to herself, "I will find out the truth, even if it kills me." But what she didn't know was that someone else had been watching her. From behind a curtain upstairs, a pair of jealous eyes stared down at her, clutching a phone. And just like that, Nora's journey into a past she never knew had begun. Long before the marble floors, long before the shiny chandelier and the west wing, there was Ijid, a forgotten riverine town hidden somewhere between poverty and prayers. And in a tiny wooden house that creaked whenever the wind blew, Nora and her mother Chioma lived their quiet, invisible life. They had one bed, 2 buckets, a cracked mirror, and 3 cooking pots, one of which always wobbled no matter where you placed it. But what they lacked in things, they made up for in love. Chioma, a woman with tired eyes and a smile that could light a room, was Nora's world. She called her daughter Bugam, meaning my pride. Every night before bed, she would sing the same lullaby, "Sleep, my baby, sleep. The stars will guard your dreams." Nora would always ask, "Mummy, who taught you that song?" And Chioma would pause, smile sadly, and say, "Someone I once loved deeply. Someone from a world far away from here." Chioma sold peppers and onions in the market. Not much, but enough to feed Nora and pay rent. But there was always something secretive about her. She never allowed Nora to walk alone in the market. She avoided photographers. She warned Nora never to speak to strangers. And she kept an old shoebox hidden under the bed, locked with a rusty padlock and wrapped with a scarf. One day, when Nora was just 9, she had asked, "Mummy, where is my daddy?" Chioma froze. Her hand, which was cutting onions, stopped mid-air. She didn't turn. She just whispered, "Your father was someone very, very important. But we had to run. Because if we didn't, you would not be alive today." Nora never asked again. But time is a thief. And thieves don't knock. That day came like any other. Chioma had gone to the market. It started raining. Nora, now 13, stayed home, cooking rice with firewood. But her mother never returned. Not that night. Not the next day. Nora searched every street. She ran to the market. She checked hospitals. Nothing. Until, 3 days later, a stranger knocked on their door, a woman with red eyes and trembling lips. It was Chioma's closest friend from the market. "She's gone, Nora," the woman said. "They said she collapsed. She didn't make it." Nora screamed. She didn't eat for 2 days. Then, she remembered the shoebox. She broke it open. Inside was a faded baby photo of her. A golden feather pendant. A sealed envelope with no name. And a note. The note said, "If anything happens to me, forgive me, Ugam. You are more than you know. One day, when you find this pendant's twin, follow the truth." After her mother's death, life became a war. Nora was chased from the house for unpaid rent. She slept in abandoned buses for weeks. She washed plates at a buka in exchange for food. She once sold water sachets in traffic just to buy menstrual pads. But through it all, she held on to the baby photo, the golden feather pendant, and her mother's lullaby. One day, while washing dishes outside a church compound, a woman approached her. Mama Nkechi. A tall, round woman with a booming voice and a warm heart. "You look like a child of someone I know," she said. "What's your name?" "Nora," she whispered. "I clean. I can cook. I just need a place." Mama Nkechi took her in. Fed her. Clothed her. And then told her about a mansion, one that needed trial housekeepers. "Just work hard," she told her. "And stay away from anything that doesn't concern you. Rich people carry secrets." And so, a week later, Nora entered the Adewale mansion for the first time. She didn't know what she would find. But she carried her mother's memory, her pendant, and the words, "You are more than you know." Back in the mansion, things began to shift. The other maid, Tina, began watching Nora closely. Too closely. One afternoon, while Nora was sweeping the staircase, she heard whispers in the staff kitchen. "You see that girl?" Tina whispered to Amaka. "The new one. She dey find weddin' no lose. I saw her enter the West Wing last night." Amaka gasped. "But that's forbidden." "Exactly," Tina hissed. "She dey poke nose like say na her papa house." But what none of them knew was this: upstairs, someone had seen the pendant. Mr. Adewale himself. In his quiet study, behind a tall curtain, the aging billionaire had looked down through the camera monitor and seen something he never expected, a golden feather pendant, the exact same one his lost daughter had been wearing the day of the fire 17 years ago. He clenched his fist. His hands shook. He turned to a photo album beside him, opened to the page, and stared at the baby's face. Then he whispered, "It can't be, can it?" In the city, his name opened doors. Chief Adewale Adetokunbo, a man once known as the Lion of Lagos. He didn't inherit wealth. He built it. From selling spare car parts under the Ojuelegbo Bridge, to owning one of the largest chains of hospitals and private schools in the country. He married late, at 42, to Omatok, the most beautiful nurse in one of his hospitals. Everyone who attended the wedding that day said the way he looked at her, like she was the only woman that ever existed, was unforgettable. 2 years later, they had a daughter. He named her Omotola. He built her a nursery bigger than a classroom. He designed a private garden just so she could chase butterflies. He canceled meetings with ministers just to rock her to sleep when she cried. She was everything. Until that night. 17 years ago. The day the fire broke out in Shiloh Specialist Hospital. A new wing had just been opened. His wife was volunteering for a post-surgery camp. She took Omotola along. She said she couldn't bear to spend the night away. A generator explosion. Smoke. Chaos. Screams. Adewale had received the call at 2:12 a.m. By the time he got there, the building was in flames. Nurses were coughing blood. Patients were being dragged out half-burnt. He ran straight in. The guards held him back. "My wife. My daughter is in there." They found his wife's body under a collapsed beam. But Omotola was never found. Some believed her body burned completely. Some said she was taken. Some claimed she was in a different ward. But Adewale never recovered. He built a foundation in their name. He donated to burn units. He stopped smiling. He became a ghost of himself. Years passed. And then, that night, on the camera screen of his mansion, he saw her. Not Omotoke, but the baby pendant. The golden feather. The exact one he had custom-made for Omotola on her first birthday. He stood frozen in his study. The pendant shimmered. The girl's face looked familiar. Too familiar. Could it be? "No," he said aloud. "Omotola is gone." But something wouldn't let him sleep. He walked to his private drawer. Took out a photograph. It was the last photo ever taken of baby Omotola. Same mole. Same cheeks. Same soft, curious eyes. And suddenly, he wept. Meanwhile, Nora woke up with a storm in her chest. She couldn't focus on cleaning. All morning, her hands trembled. The photo, the portrait, the pendant, Papa Shay's words, it all felt like a puzzle designed to break her sanity. But what hurt more was the weight of never knowing. So she did something she hadn't done in years. She sat on the tiled bathroom floor, looked up at the ceiling, and whispered, "Mummy, who am I? What happened before I could walk or talk? Did I come from a mansion like this? Why didn't you ever tell me?" Tears ran freely. She held her pendant tightly. And for the first time in years, she began to pray. That evening, as the staff cleaned the back terrace, Mr. Adewale stepped out, slowly, calmly, like a man testing a new storm. Everyone stood still. It was the first time in a while he had come out to speak to the staff. His eyes scanned the compound, and then landed on her. Nora. Their eyes locked. And something shifted. He walked straight to her. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. Her heart jumped. "And Nora, sir. Where are you from?" "Iged. Near Badagry." "Your family?" "Just my mother, she's late." He looked at her long and hard. Then nodded, and walked away. Nora exhaled. But she didn't know that Mr. Adewale walked straight to his private lab and placed a call. "Prepare a DNA test kit," he said. "For me, and someone else." Later that night, the wind howled again. Nora couldn't sleep. She stepped outside, into the mansion's garden, the only place that calmed her. It was there she met an old man watering sunflowers. Baba Monday, the gardener. Bent, wrinkled, and always humming Yoruba folk songs. He looked at her kindly. "You don't sleep either." "Not much these days," Nora said. He chuckled. "You remind me of someone. She used to walk this same garden barefoot, years ago. Just like you." Nora's heart skipped. "Who?" she asked. "Little Miss Omotola, the chief's daughter." Nora froze. "You knew her?" "Yes. I was here before she was born. I was here when the fire happened." He sighed. "They said her body burned. But deep down, I never believed that child died." He leaned closer. You know why? He asked. Why? Nora whispered. Because the night before that fire, she cried and said something strange to me in her tiny little voice. She said, Baba, Mummy said we won't sleep here tomorrow night. We're going somewhere safer. Nora's heart began to pound. That child was protected, he said, nodding. I don't believe the fire took her. Someone took her away. He stood and stretched his back. You have her eyes, you know. He smiled. Then walked away slowly. Nora stood still. Shaking. Back in the main building. Tina had her ear pressed to a crack in the wall. She had heard everything. And that night, she sent a message to someone on her phone, we may have a problem. She's asking questions. Mr. Adewale had always believed that a man should never allow his emotions lead him, only facts. But that night, after looking at Nora's face and pendant, he felt something he hadn't felt in 17 years. Hope. And hope, when it returns after tragedy, can be more terrifying than grief. He stood at the edge of the mansion's private lab, a modern facility tucked away behind the main house. Built after his daughter's disappearance, he had used it to fund private research into burns, blood tracing, and forensic testing. Now, for the first time, it would serve him personally. He handed his chief pathologist, Dr. Kamal, an unlabeled Ziploc bag. Inside was a toothbrush. Test this against my own DNA file. Do it quietly, he instructed. No records. No backups. Only you and me. Dr. Kamal, a man in his 50s with quiet loyalty, understood immediately. Sir, are you saying what I think you're saying? Mr. Adewale looked out the window, where Nora was sweeping leaves under a tree. Just tell me the truth, he whispered. Even if it breaks me again. Back in the East Wing, Nora finished her cleaning quietly. But her mind was loud. The photo. The gardener. The pendant. Papa Shay's reaction. Too many things didn't add up. And then it happened again, as she passed the hallway with the forbidden wing, she felt that same cold pull. Something was calling her. Not a voice. Not a shadow. Just, something. And this time, she didn't resist. The house was quieter than usual. The other staff were in the rear quarter. Tina had gone to the market with Amaka. Nora walked slowly down the hallway. The west wing loomed ahead, the same carved oak door, same antique lock. But this time, it was unlocked. She pushed it gently and entered. Dust. Silence. Memories she never knew she had began to awaken. She passed through rooms filled with old covered furniture, dim chandeliers, oil paintings, and a grand piano with cobwebs. Then she saw it. A nursery. Not just any nursery, a baby's palace. Painted stars and moons on the ceiling. A pink crib with lace. A bookshelf filled with children's stories, Xena the Forest Queen, Lami's Talking Drum, and Tales from the River Spirit. And then, her hand brushed something on the wall. A growth chart. Heights recorded year by year. The last entry read, Omadala, 1 year 2 months. Nora staggered back. Tears filled her eyes. Omadala, that name. That same name the gardener mentioned. She touched her chest. Her heart was racing. She opened a drawer near the crib. Inside, a torn page from a journal. A silver rattle. A dried-out birthday card. She unfolded the card. To my shining star, Omadala. Happy first birthday. May you grow in light, strength, and joy. Daddy. Her legs gave way. She sank to the floor. Who am I? She whispered. What is this? Suddenly, a creak behind her. She jumped. Standing at the doorway, staring like a statue, was Papa Shay. His eyes were tired. But this time, not with fear, with something deeper. He slowly entered the room. "You remind me of her," he said. Same silence. Same way she used to blink when she was confused. Nora stood. "Is it true?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "I don't have answers. But I know, you were meant to return. Somehow." And then he said something that chilled her. "You should be careful, Nora. Not everyone wants the truth to come out." "What do you mean?" "There are eyes watching in this house. And not all of them are on your side." Meanwhile, Tina walked through a hidden path behind the estate wall, an overgrown alley that led to the back of a barbershop in Surrey. She entered a small wooden gate and found Jessica waiting, dressed in designer jeans and a fake designer blouse. Jessica looked nothing like the billionaire's lost daughter. But she was sharp, calculated, and cold. Tina sat down angrily. That new girl, the one they just brought to help clean. She's snooping around. Jessica's face twitched. Did she see the photo? Worse. She entered the West Wing. Papa Shay found her. Jessica slapped the table. "I told you to distract her." Tina hissed. "Do you know how hard it is? That girl, she's different. Quiet, but her eyes are searching everything. If she keeps digging, she'll ruin everything." Jessica leaned back. "Then we finish before it's too late." "How?" Tina asked. Jessica smiled slowly. "We paint her as a thief. A liar. Or worse, a mad girl." "Are you sure?" Jessica pulled out a brown envelope. Inside was a forged birth certificate, fake medical documents, and a childhood photo she had been editing to resemble the billionaire's lost baby. "By next week, I'll be introduced to the chief as the miracle daughter who survived. All I need is for the real one to disappear quietly." Tina swallowed hard. "Be careful," she said. "I'm starting to think she might actually be the real one." Jessica's smile faded. "Then we make her disappear. For real this time." Back in the mansion, Nora stood on the balcony of the staff quarters, staring at the stars. The same stars her mother used to sing about. She didn't know what tomorrow held. But she knew one thing. "I have to know the truth," she whispered. Far away, in a hospital lab, a machine beeped. The DNA result was ready. And Mr. Adewale had just opened the envelope. His hands began to shake. "Oh my God," he whispered. "It's her." Mr. Adewale didn't cry often. Not even when his wife's casket was lowered into the ground. Not even when they handed him the blanket his baby had been wrapped in. But as he stood in his private study, holding the DNA envelope in his trembling hands, his knees weakened. The result was clear. 99.98% probability of biological relationship, father/daughter. He slumped into the leather armchair. Put both hands over his face. And whispered, brokenly, "Omatala," then came the flood. Memories of her tiny fingers holding his thumb. Her first laugh. The first time she said, "Dada." He had spent 17 years building foundations in her name. But now, for the first time, she wasn't a memory. She was flesh and blood. In his house. Sweeping floors. But how would he tell her? How could he confess that he, a billionaire, had let his only child mop marble tiles for food? He couldn't just call her in and drop the news like a stone. She wouldn't believe him. It would traumatize her. So he made a decision. "I will test her heart," he whispered. "If she has her mother's spirit, I'll know it's truly her." And from that day, he watched her closely. The first test came quietly. During lunch, he asked Papa Shi to invite Nora into the main dining room, something no domestic staff had ever done. Nora stood at the edge of the polished dining hall, staring in confusion. "You called for me, sir." Mr. Adewale looked up from his soup, calm but unreadable. Come. Sit. Sir. I don't like eating alone. She hesitated, then obeyed, slowly sitting on the farthest end of the table. A servant placed a plate of jollof rice in front of her. Nora's hands trembled slightly as she picked up the spoon. But she didn't ask questions. She didn't act greedy. She didn't steal glances at the gold-plated cutlery or the artwork on the wall. She just sat quietly, ate slowly, and whispered, "Thank you," when she finished. Adewale nodded to himself. Just like her mother. The second test came days later. He intentionally dropped a bundle of cash on the floor near her cleaning bucket. Nora picked it up, stared at it, walked straight to Papa Shea. "Someone must have dropped this, sir. I found it under the dining table." Adewale, watching from the corner camera, smiled faintly. Then came the third test. He asked her to help carry a box of donations to an orphanage in Suralere. She didn't know he was watching from afar. He saw the way she knelt beside the children. The way she removed her own scarf to tie it on a little girl's head. The way she told one boy, "You're strong. You'll grow up and build schools." Adewale leaned against his car and fought back tears. It was her. Her soul. Her compassion. Her fire. But before he could make his next move, something else was happening. A storm. One with makeup, lies, and ambition. Jessica walked into the mansion like she belonged there. Hair curled. Nails done. Outfit ironed to perfection. And in her hand, a brown envelope of lies, forged documents, edited photos, and a tear-stained rehearsed speech. She had called ahead, posing as a private investigator who claimed to have found Mr. Adewale's daughter through hospital blood records. Papa Shea was the one who answered. The moment she arrived, Tina ran to meet her at the staff gate. "Be confident," Tina whispered. "You're the only daughter he has left. Act like it." Jessica adjusted her blouse, took a deep breath, and entered the mansion. Adewale was in his study. Jessica walked in slowly, clutching the envelope. "Sir. I know this is hard to believe, but I'm your daughter. I didn't know until last month. My mother only confessed before she died." Adewale looked up. His eyes narrowed. "And your name?" "Omotola," she smiled. "I was raised as Amara, but I believe I'm your daughter. Where's your pendant?" Jessica blinked. "Pendant? The golden feather. My wife had it made specially. Do you have it?" Jessica hesitated. "No. I think my mother lost it when we moved houses." "I see," he said calmly. But his eyes darkened. He pressed a button under the table. Two guards quietly entered the room. "Kindly escort this woman out," he said firmly. Jessica gasped. "Wait. You haven't seen the DNA. Look at the photos. Leave. Now." As she was dragged out, she turned to Tina in the kitchen. "He didn't fall for it. But don't worry. If I can't lie my way in, I'll destroy whoever is real." That evening, Rain returned to Lagos. Nora sat in her small room, staring at the candlelight. She opened her mother's old scarf, the one she had wrapped around her possessions. Inside, she found something strange she hadn't noticed before, a seam that had been stitched shut. Curious, she picked at it, and inside, hidden deep in the hem, was a thin notebook. Worn. Water-stained. But legible. Her mother's handwriting. Page after page, memories, secrets, warnings. Then she found it. "If you're reading this, it means I am gone. And I'm sorry. But I had to protect you. Your name is not Nora. It's Omotola Omotokunbo. You are the daughter of Chief Adewale. A good man. A great father. But evil people wanted you gone, so I took you and ran. The fire gave me the only chance to disappear. I had no choice. Forgive me. One day, you'll return to your father. He'll know you by your pendant. And when you do, tell him I never stopped loving him. Or you. Nora dropped the notebook. Her chest rose and fell like she was drowning in air. Omatala. That's me. Tears ran down her face. She reached for the mirror, stared at herself. Then why do I feel like I still don't know the full truth? Outside her window, two shadows walked past. Tina and Jessica. Plotting their next move. Nora couldn't sleep. The words from her mother's journal kept echoing in her mind. Your name is not Nora. It's Omatala Omatok Adatokunber. She turned the pages again, hoping there was something else. A signature. A date. Something to prove this wasn't some mad dream. But the ink was real. The handwriting, the scent, even the little flower doodle at the corners of each page, it was all her mother. The woman who raised her. The woman who died in that rain-soaked market accident. Was she not her real mother? The weight of the truth was unbearable. She dropped the journal on the bed. Her hands trembled. Her body shivered despite the heat. She needed air. The hallway of the servants' quarters was quiet. The kind of silence that felt like someone holding their breath. Nora tiptoed toward the front porch, hoping to sit under the stars. But just before she turned the corner, she heard it. Phone conversation on speaker but not too loud. She paused. From the corridor leading to the laundry room, came Tina's voice. She has the pendant. The man's already watching her like a hawk. If we don't act fast, we'll lose everything. Then Jessica's voice, sharp, cold, trembling. Forget acting fast. We strike. Now. We make her the problem. We bring her down. But how? She's quiet. Always sneaking around. We say she stole something. Something valuable. Nora's heart nearly stopped. She leaned against the wall, hands over her mouth, trying to keep silent. Once she's gone, Jessica continued, I'll show the chief the edited photo of me as a baby with his wife. He won't know the difference. Tina grunted. I'm just worried. What if he finds out? Then we make sure he finds out too late. Nora didn't move. She stood frozen. Tears filled her eyes again. They're trying to destroy me, she whispered. But why me? She turned and ran back into her room. Straight to the journal. Clutched it like her life depended on it. And whispered, if I am Omatala, then I must fight like Omatok's daughter. The next morning, Mr. Adewale sat alone in his study. He had barely slept. The DNA results still lay in his drawer. Undeniable. Unforgiving. He wanted to embrace her. To shout to the world that his daughter was alive. But something held him back. Fear. What if she hated him? What if she couldn't forgive the past? What if she wasn't ready? His thoughts were broken by a knock. Papa Shea entered, holding a tray of tea. But his expression was different. Worried. Almost hesitant. Sir, he said, placing the tray down. There's something I must tell you. Go on. Papa Shea cleared his throat. The girl. Nora. I believe she overheard something last night. She's not safe. What do you mean? Tina. That maid, she's up to something. And she's not alone. Mr. Adewale stood slowly. Eyes cold. Tell me everything. Minutes later, 2 guards were dispatched. CCTV footage was reviewed. And slowly, the truth began to reveal itself. Jessica. The forged identity. The secret meetings. The birth certificate with mismatched stamps. The edited baby photo with sloppy cut and paste borders. Everything unraveled. Mr. Adewale stared at the screen. They tried to scam me. His voice was low, deadly. But the one who is real, was cleaning my house all along. He stood. Bring her to me, he said softly. But sir, what about Jessica? Forget Jessica. I want, my daughter. Nora walked nervously toward the main mansion. She had been summoned. Not by Papa Shea. By the chief himself. 2 guards escorted her with unusual respect. Her mind raced. Had they found the journal? Had someone told him what she heard? Or, had he found the truth? When she entered the room, she gasped. It wasn't the study. It was a bedroom. Not just any bedroom. The walls were light blue. The curtains fluttered gently. The scent of rosewater lingered. And on the walls were photos. Dozens of them. Photos of her. Not recent. Not digital. Baby photos. Toddler photos. Some with her mother. Some with her dad. I've seen this place, she whispered. In a dream, a voice spoke behind her. It's not a dream. She turned. Mr. Adewale stood by the doorway. His eyes were red. But not from anger. From love. From loss. From discovery. I had this room sealed for years, he said. After the fire. I couldn't bear to enter. Nora stood frozen. Why did you bring me here? He walked closer. Held up the golden feather pendant from her neck. Then from his pocket, he brought out its twin. Because this pendant belonged to my daughter. He gently placed both pendants side by side. They fit perfectly. 2 halves of a single feather. Your name is Omotola. You are my daughter. Silence. Wind blew through the curtains. Nora dropped to her knees. It's true, she whispered. I saw it, in the journal. My mother wrote it. She said I'd come home one day. Adewale knelt beside her. Pulled her into his arms. And for the first time in 17 years, he held his child. They wept. 2 broken hearts. 2 lost souls. Finally, whole. The reunion between father and daughter didn't last long in private. The next morning, the media arrived at Adewale's mansion. The whispers had already begun. Someone had leaked a video of Nora standing beside the billionaire with the caption, "Is this the billionaire's lost daughter?" Within hours, it was on blogs. Within a day, it was on national TV. But nothing prepared the world for what came next. Chief Adewale sat beside Nora, now dressed in a soft white gown with gold embroidery, simple makeup, and her hair neatly braided back. He cleared his throat and addressed the world. 17 years ago, my daughter was taken from me in a fire that changed my life forever. I built hospitals in her name. I mourned a ghost. But God is faithful. He turned to Nora. Today, I present to you the miracle I never thought possible. My daughter, Omotola Omatokadatokunber, is alive. Nora stood and spoke softly. I didn't grow up in a mansion. I didn't know I was Omotola. I believed I was just a girl named Nora, raised by a pepper seller in Ijeed. But now, I know my truth. And I'm ready to live it, with dignity. The crowd exploded in applause. But far from the mansion, Tina and Jessica sat quietly in a small hotel room, glued to the screen, faces pale. That same evening, Mr. Adewale summoned a manila file from his legal team. Inside were police reports, old witness statements, and private hospital records. One file had the name, Risi Ogunmana, a nurse aide on duty the night of the fire. Mama Risi. It was her signature that had signed the last exit slip in the children's ward, the last person to hold baby Omotola. But she vanished after the fire. Disappeared from all records. Until 3 years later, under a new name. She reappeared in Ijid, calling herself Chioma. She raised Omotola, now Nora, quietly, lovingly, but never told her the truth. Why? She had a past. A secret. She once worked for a jealous family member of the Adewales, who had planned to kidnap the baby for ransom. But when the fire broke out unexpectedly, Mama Risi took the child and ran, not out of kindness, but out of panic and guilt. She could have returned the child. But she didn't. Instead, she ran. And raised her, far away. She wasn't my real mother, Nora said, reading the police file. But she loved me. She sacrificed for me. And now I finally understand, she gave me 2 lives. One of pain. And one of strength. Adewale put his arm around her. You are your mother's courage. And your father's fire. Days later, Tina and Jessica were arrested, caught trying to use forged documents at a lawyer's office. Their faces flooded the news. Maid and accomplice tried to imposter Billionaire's missing daughter. During interrogation, Tina broke down. I was just jealous. She came from nowhere, and suddenly everyone liked her. I didn't know she was the real one. Jessica, on the other hand, refused to cry. She stared at the cameras and said, so what if I lied? The rich have more than they deserve. I just wanted my share. But the law spoke. They were sentenced to 6 years for fraud and impersonation. Weeks later, the mansion transformed. Nora, now officially addressed as Miss Omotola, began redecorating the West Wing. She reopened the nursery, now filled with toys for orphans who visited weekly. She started a foundation in her late mother's real name, the Omotoke Hope Foundation, offering education scholarships to housemaids and cleaners across the country. One morning, she stood in the hallway again. But this time, the photo of her as a baby had been replaced. Now hanging there proudly was a framed portrait of her today, smiling in her new identity, wearing the golden feather pendant, standing beside her father. Below it, a new plaque read. She was never lost. She was becoming. Papa Shri, now retired, visited her often and always said, "You're not just Omotola. You're a reminder that destiny never forgets its owner." In her new bedroom, Nora sat at a small desk, writing into her journal, the very same one Chioma had left behind. She added a page. Dear Mummy Chioma, or should I say Mama Risi? I don't know why you ran. But I know you loved me. And even if you weren't my real mother, you gave me something that changed my life, protection, dignity, and a name. I forgive you. And I'll honor both you, and the real mother I never met, Omotoke, the woman who gave me life. I am Omotola. But I'll always carry a piece of Nora with me. Because that girl survived everything. And still stood tall. She wiped a tear, and closed the book. You may not start your journey with the truth, but one day, truth will find you. And when it does, don't run, rise. Identity is not only about where you come from, but who you choose to become.
If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you've ever felt like you didn't belong, remember, you're not lost, you're just on your way home. Thank you for watching African Tales by Imade. See you in our next video. Bye guys.